Hello? Who's on and can hear me okay? Hello, if you're just joining, say who you are and where you're chiming in from.
Cabaret.
Hi, Samson. Not cabaret.
Cabernet.
Yeah. So we got Samson on. I know there's a few other viewers on here. Type in your name and where you're joining in from. You're coming live from your kitchen. Yes. This is my teeny little kitchen. Welcome. So I am also joining from my kitchen for this new Ayurvedic quarantine cooking. We'll be diving in about 6-7 minutes or so, but wanted to launch the stream and get people the chance to get on here. Oh, whoa, there's different effects. We're not going to mess with those. Can you hear me okay from over here, Samson? And can you see me okay? Yes and yes. Okay, great. If you're just joining, what you'll need today is just a pot and some water. You don't need a lid, but you will need a pot and some water. And we'll get started soon here. So grab yourself a pot and some water, and we'll start in about 5 minutes. Just giving people a chance to log in. Okay, friends, you're just logging in. Type your name. Share where you're coming in from. Okay. Hi, friends, if you're just joining. We'll get started in about 4 minutes with Ayurveda quarantine cooking today. Hey, Robin, welcome back. Day 2. And Robin, what you'll need today is a pot and some water. Hey, Ashley, welcome back. Day 2, Ayurveda. We're doing quarantine cooking today. And team, just grab a pot that you have, fill it with water. And if you're watching from your kitchen, put it on your stove. And I'm going to actually start the flame under my water just to make sure that this gets fully cooked in time. It should, but while we're talking. If you're at home and you have your pot of water, fill it up all the way. And we'll get started here shortly in about 3 or so minutes. If you're just tuning in, type your name, where you're tuning in from, and welcome to my little kitchen. Always wanted to have a cooking show. How fun is this? Hi, Neil from Sacramento. Welcome. Michelle from Chicago. Welcome. If you're just tuning in, type your name, where you're from if you haven't yet. And hi, Gina from Berkeley. And what you'll need today for our Ayurveda quarantine cooking is a pot and fill it up with water. And you'll put it on your stovetop. I've already turned mine on just to make sure it's done in time by the end of our time together. And we'll get started in a couple minutes here. All right, team, we'll get started in about 1 or 2 minutes. Just letting a few more people pop on. And then we'll talk about water today and how to best support your system, especially during the spring season and quarantine, with appropriate water. Okay, friends, to honor time, we're going to get started. So welcome. My name's Emily Schmookler, and I'm in Berkeley, California. This is my little kitchen, and we're launching this new 30-minute Ayurveda quarantine cooking workshop that we'll be doing every week while we're still in shelter in place and quarantine. So I hope that you'll join on Thursdays. Today, if you haven't already yet, you'll grab a pot and water, and you do not need a lid. I've already put my pot on the stove and turned the flame on. So if you'd like, you can go ahead and get that started. If you're doing this along with me, you also don't have to. But fill your pot up with water, turn the flame on high, and we'll let it sit. And we're going to talk a little bit about water while it's cooking. So how many of you, and I'd love for you to share in the chat function, how many of you drink cold water? And if you do, how do you feel when you drink cold water? Type in the chat function. Let's share. So how many of you drink cold water, and how do you feel after drinking cold water? or what temperature of water? You feel refreshed. Okay, great. I generally like how it feels going down my throat, but it sits in my stomach. Yes, Robin. It tends to do that. Anyone else have anything? I do. I feel bloated afterwards. I do. I feel sometimes it's satisfying, and sometimes I feel like I don't digest like a brick. Yeah. I drink room temp. Yes, I usually drink cold water. It's a little shocking. Yeah. These are really great shares. So there's a reason for that. Water itself is actually a really heavy molecule, especially when you're drinking it straight. Think about, depending on where you are, I drink lukewarm to cold water. I feel pretty okay usually. By the way, friends, Samson is our moderator today, so he'll be typing in and responding. If you're just joining in or sharing, he can respond. And then if you have questions, I'll do my best to scan through and get to those as well. So water itself, the molecule is heavy. Think about the different minerals that are in tap water that make it, that can change the heaviness of water. And if you're looking in your pot, if you're just joining, you want to have a pot full of water, turn the heat on. Mine is already starting to just get some little bubbles. So think about your stomach and your digestive, this being like a bowl and almost like it is sitting on top of a stove. It is there to heat and cook things. And so when we drink cold water, because it's a heavy molecule, oftentimes you'll feel like it's literally a brick, like you said, Samson, or Robin, or even Ashley, like a brick. It's sitting, you feel bloated because it's really a hard thing to digest, and it's hard on our digestive system. And it's also, as you know, 70% of our body is water. So it is really important for us to replenish. And if you're sweating, if we lose water, if you sweat in your sleep, if you're exercising, take showers, those things will also make us perspire. And so if you drink water right before a meal, your digestive fire, your Agni, can be diluted. So the strength of how you digest food, if you drink it before, will actually not be as strong. And simultaneously, if you drink water right after a meal, it can actually create more kapha. And the elements that are in kapha are earth and water, which essentially can cause weight gain and cause more feeling of sluggishness and slow digestion. So it can slow it down. So we'll just talk about just even while you're eating, appropriately, it's important that while you're eating, according to Ayurveda, sipping warm water during a meal is ideal. And it helps with digestion. It helps coat your food. It helps with absorption, and it helps the building of your tissues in your body. Drinking a little water during meals and in between meals when you're thirsty is the ideal, and the quantity of water that you should drink daily really depends on your constitution. So now my water just started to boil. Namaste, yes. So if you are primarily a Vata constitution, you have more air and ether elements, you're thinner frame, you tend to have more dry skin, you're pretty quick natured, you should definitely drink more water, so 6 to 8 glasses. Pitta, if you have more fiery water constitution, medium frame, you lose and gain weight pretty easily. Your skin tends to be a little more reddish. That would be more pitta frame type. You should drink about 5 to 6 glasses. And then if you're kapha, if you're more earth and water elements, you tend to gain weight easily, but you can't lose it. You move slower and you speak a little slower. Your skin is slightly oily and maybe even a little cool. you should drink less water, so 4 to 5 cups of water a day. And so with that being said, let's talk about, before I talk about why we're actually cooking this water with the lid off, I want to bring up ice, because ice is something that I know a lot of us in the West have access to and add to our drinks. Again, coming back to this idea of cold water just really being harsh on our system, we're already warm from the inside. So think about how that's dampening your digestive fire. That ingesting ice cold beverages or even cold foods can definitely dampen your stomach's digestive fire. And warm and hot foods or just beverages are just easier to digest and easier on your digestive system. And this is really important also if you're more Vata or Kapha constitution, or you have a Vata imbalance. And also, friends, we're in Kapha season, so it's also really important during Kapha season. Because our bodies are just coming out of this winter phase. And some of you, I know in Denver right now, there's a lot of snow, so it's cold. But think about when it's warm out and the snow melts, that's spring. That's the earth really melting the sludge. So we want to support our digestive fire as we've come out of like the season where we've eaten a lot of heavier foods. We want to start to rekindle our fire so that we can, eat what the earth is giving us, more bitter, astringent, pungent foods, and support our digestion by drinking warmer liquids. So it is really important, friends, that you avoid ice in your food and your water. And think about ice. Water itself as already being a heavy molecule. When you freeze it, it becomes even heavier and harder to digest. And if you're Pitta, you can definitely tolerate a little bit more cooler beverages and drinking a more room temperature as opposed to hot. And that's when you're more in balance. But it is recommended to avoid ice still. So let's talk about why we're boiling water right now. So when you cook water, and some of you got it. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions before I move into talking about cooked water? Pause for a minute or two to take in any questions, or even just some ahas. So if you just are like, oh, that makes so much sense, type it in. Thank you, Feli. Okay, I'm not seeing anything come in, so I will keep going. Please type in questions as they come. So, all this makes sense. What if your characteristics are between Vata and Kapha? Then Robin, if you are more of a Vata Kapha constitution, warm is good because cold and cool are the same qualities. So drinking warm and eating warm foods are going to help support your digestive fire. Yes, Ashley, you are Pitta Kapha. I know you very well. You're primarily Pitta and Kapha. And so if you're working with a Kapha imbalance, we're going to talk about cooked water and how to make cooked water. So let's think about, now that we know that water is a heavy molecule, it's really hard to digest, and it's cold. You're so welcome, Robin. How many of you use a tea kettle and boil tea and you're like, this is good, like warm water, I use a tea kettle to boil. It feels better in my system to just drink it that way. And that might be how you drink your warm water, and that's totally appropriate and okay. But the reason why we have it in a pot with water, you'll see that right now, I'm going to see if I can move this without messing up my camera. Great question about drinking water while you work out, and I'll answer that in just a moment. Here's my water. It's just getting a little boil going. So, should you drink water while you work out? The answer is going to be different depending on what kind of workout you're doing. But think about our pitta dosha in our body that is comprised of fire and water elements. It works to, part of pitta's job is to regulate our body temperature. So when you're exercising, your body temperature is increasing. So if you're exercising and then throwing cold water down your body, think about how much harder your body actually has to work to digest and absorb water. You're going to have to experiment with this on your own. There are definitely some, especially when it comes to yoga, there's some definitely different perspectives on this based on schools and lineages. One of my mentors talks about drinking water right before class and right after class. But during practice, really allowing your body to just move and breathe and be connected without having to think about digesting fluids in your body, because really the intention of exercising is to digest the movement, to move and flush your lymphatic system, to increase circulation. So adding water to your system while you're exercising can actually hinder its maximum performance. Now, what I personally do is I do bring a hydro flask of water, and I make sure that it is warm water. So that if I need to sip just to hydrate, if my mouth is feeling really dry, then I'll sip it. But I do recommend not to chug or pound water while you're exercising or practicing yoga. So I hope that answer makes sense, and if it doesn't, you need more clarity, please type in and let me know. So because the water is a heavy molecule, it's harder to digest because it's cold. Taking the lid off allows, maybe you can even see there's steam starting to come off of the pot while the water is boiling. And what the steam is it's evaporating all of the heavy minerals and the heavy molecules in the water. So we're actually making the water lighter and easier to digest on our system, which is why it's different than just boiling water in a pot. So again, boil water. You want to get it boiling for about, it has a roll going for at least 5 minutes. And if you're working towards balancing out like a vata imbalance where you feel overstimulated, you've been out of control movements of the body, or just feeling like you need grounding, you would boil the water about 5 minutes. If you're working towards from a pitta imbalance to manage pitta, let's say you are feeling more irritated or agitated, you have skin rashes or heat things popping up, anything that's kind of like an itis, if your eyes are burning or your feet are hurting, or rather than hurting, burning, then you would boil more like 10 minutes. You're so welcome. And then if you're working towards balancing a kapha imbalance where you feel more sluggish and heavy and slow, your body maybe has some extra weight from winter or from other things that you're working against, you would want to boil the water down for 10 to 15 minutes. So the longer you boil it, you'll look at where it starts. It'll actually get lower in the pot as it cooks down, which then means the water is lighter and easier to digest. And so then with that, with the water being easier and lighter to digest, once it's done boiling, based on how long you're cooking it for, and generally you just want to do 5 to 10 minutes just for a general day. Friends, make sure you start by filling your pot up really high so that you're doing a fresh pot of water every day. So once it's done, you turn the heat off and you let it cool. You don't need to drink it freaking piping hot. You want to drink it where it's warm, but not too hot or too heavy, so you don't want to burn your mouth when you're exploring or experimenting with this. So you'll make a pot for the entire day. And please keep in mind that you want to do a fresh pot every day. What I do is I'll boil a fresh pot and add it to a hydro flask, like I said, after it cools to the temperature that I want. And then that's my water for the day. You can also take like a ladle and just scoop it into cups. I'm going to cook mine a little bit longer while I'm still talking. And I want to pause and just see if anyone has questions about cooked water, the duration of how long you should cook it, if this makes sense, and then we'll experiment actually tasting our water together in just a moment. So let me know if you have questions or shares, anything that's percolating, just like our water. If you tend to be Pitta type and you run really hot, just allow your water to cool. Do you ever filter your water before boiling? Yes, you can. There are a lot of different filtration systems. It depends on where you live, and some places I know in the like where I study in the Berkshires, their water has high iron content. So you'll see a lot of disorders starting to come out in certain areas where there might be different types of minerals in your water. Generally, the Bay Area has pretty clean water. So I just go straight from the tap, but you can take filtered water and then boil it, and that will make it even lighter. So if you have some sort of dis-ease that you're working against, filtered water will just make it that much easier for your system to digest. The other thing that I'll add, friends, once you start doing this and you drinking your water this way, you'll notice that you're actually not peeing as much. You'll notice that your urination has decreased because you're absorbing your water, you're hydrating your body, and it doesn't take as long for your system to absorb the benefits of what it needs to be rehydrated. So you may notice that you may reduce the amount that you're drinking and also the amount that you're urinating, which is pretty cool. Okay, I know Robin asked a question. Can you review the imbalances with each time to boil? So imbalances are going to be different per person. I can give kind of just a general overview of some like standard things that you'll see. Vata imbalance, since Vata is our earth and air, ether and air elements. Vata is the king of our movement, our communication. So Vata governs all of our movement in our body, including digestion. So if you have any sort of gas, bloating digestively, you have uncontrolled movements, you feel totally depleted, that's going to be a Vata imbalance. So you'll want to cook your water not as long because you still want a little bit of that density. You'll boil it, make sure it's boiling for about 5 minutes. Pitta imbalances are going to be showing up as rashes, any sort of like heat or blood disorders, any sort of vision or disorders of mobility of the feet. And that will be, you'll want to boil your water for about 10 minutes. And for kapha disorders, you're looking at like feeling sluggish and slow, the qualities of an imbalance of too much earth and water elements. So really reducing the water so that it is much lighter and easier to digest. And you'll want to boil it for maybe 15 minutes. So now I'm going to actually turn my water off. I'm going to remove it. You'll see, look at all the vapors are coming up. I'm going to remove it to the back burner just so it cools a little bit. And one of the fun things, so you're so welcome. You could just let it cool and drink the water as is. But since it's spring season, and we're in the middle of a pandemic, let's talk about that because this is cooking for quarantine. you want to bolster your immunity. And immunity is actually, it lives in the heart. And the best way to bolster immunity is to improve our digestion, improve our digestive fire, and to decongest our lymphatic system. And what I mean by lymphatic system, we talked a little about this yesterday when we were talking about oiling or abhyanga, daily self-massage, is that there can get a lot of clogged and congestion in your circulation in your lymph nodes, and the lymph help moves and circulates the blood and plasma in our body. So in adding digestive spices to your hot water, your cooked water, can really help improve your lymphatic flow. So what I have today, and there's a couple things I'm going to suggest that you can add to your water. One is, while you're boiling water, you can actually chop up just fresh ginger. Avoid doing dry ginger. It can be a little too potent and drying. And fresh ginger, the ginger root, you can chop it up and just boil it straight in the water. The other things you'll want to add after the water is boiled. So you turn off the heat, you start to allow the water to cool, and still while it's hot, I'm going to add in my water today a cinnamon stick, and I have some pieces of clove. So I'm going to drop my clove in and cinnamon stick. Then I'm going to cover it, because what will happen is that the heat of the water and then the covering over the cinnamon stick and the cloves, there's oils, there's volatile oils that will end up releasing into the water and will really help support the release of the benefits of these spices that we're using. I want to talk a little bit about cinnamon because it is a great bark. The qualities of cinnamon, I know, who knew there was so much to learn about cooking water? So the quality of the bark is light, sharp, and dry. And the parts used are usually the bark, oil, and leaves. And so there's oil that's in the bark. I'm going to show the water in just a moment so you can see how pretty it gets. But what it's helped and used for is bronchitis, indigestion, inflammation, nausea, cold. It's so great for hormone balancing. It decreases kapha and vata. It does increase pitta a little, and that's okay. But it's a sweet post-digestively. So actually digestively, it's okay for pitta. And clove that I added is also it's in the buds or oil form. And because its potency is a little bit more cooling, it helps balance out the quality of cinnamon. So it's light, it's sharp, and it's also oily. And it doesn't decrease our digestive fire because it also has a sweet post-digestive taste. It's an analgesic, so it's great for pain and reducing pain. And it helps to decrease kapha and pitta, as well as rakta. Rakta is lymph, so it helps to decrease and stimulate rakta is blood, so it helps to decrease blood. So cinnamon, clove, women, this is great during your menstrual cycle. It's also great for reducing skin disorders, fever, flatulence, colic pain, where pain moves, vomiting, nausea, any sort of dental sores, and also a great bronchitis reducer. So both cinnamon and clove are going to be great for this season, especially preventing. When making water for tea in the tea kettle, is it better to take the top off? Yes, but it doesn't it's not the exact same thing. It will help some of the water reduce down, but it doesn't reduce down as much as it can. Other really great seeds that you can add to your water that are excellent for this season are going to be coriander, de nada, coriander, cumin, fennel, ajwain, which is like a celery seed. Also, fenugreek. These are great for improving digestion, for helping reduce gas, helping to increase circulation. They're all very tridoshic, so great for balancing all three doshas, especially when you do them together because they have different, like cumin is heating, but fennel is cooling. Same with coriander. So they all balance each other out. So now I'm going to just show you the water. There's my cooked water with cinnamon and clove. I'm going to let it sit a little bit longer to let it steep a little longer before I actually drink it. But if you're at home and you have your water cooked, go ahead and pour it into a cup. And I would love to hear how the water tastes and if it tastes differently for you than drinking cold water. We have a few minutes to share how water tastes and how you feel drinking water, as well as any final questions before we end our session together. I love talking about cooked water. Honestly, this changed my own life. I suffered from IBS and digestive issues, and so changing my routine to drinking cooked water daily has greatly increased my digestive strength and my ability to reduce all of the symptoms that come with some of those symptoms and disorders. So any questions, anything you want to share? Is anyone sipping your cooked water right now? How does it feel? Can you tell that it's lighter? I'd love to hear from you in our last few minutes together. And then I'll give a preview of what we're making next week. Ooh. Okay. Still boiling. You can turn yours off now. I'm so grateful for you to join, and I really hope that this helps support your digestive system. Yes, the clove tastes so good. How does the water quality taste? Does it taste lighter or denser? We have about a minute or so left together. Yeah, it feels lighter. Cool. Friends, experiment with this throughout this week. I want to hear more when you come back next week. We could take a vote. My inclination was to do ghee next week to help make ghee. Tastes like light, fresh water from the mountains. Yes, glorious. But we could also talk more about spices. Feels overall better too. You're welcome, Michelle. This was our time together. I had so much fun talking about cooked water and the how to make ghee was going to be my next session next week. So please let me know if that interests you. If I don't have some of the ingredients, fresh or in solid, cinnamon, dill seeds at home, could I use ground cinnamon or cumin? Yeah, Ash, you can, but I would recommend just putting it in like a tea bag, or just the thing about ground cinnamon is that it can kind of, it's kind of hard to swallow. So just it'll sink to the bottom and then just let it kind of stay there and scoop it out with a scooper. This was so much fun, friends. I'll leave the chat function open for another minute or so if you have any other questions or any takeaways you want to share. Also, you can just drink the water plain. You don't have to add anything to it. And that's the truest, most purest form of drinking water. I had so much fun too. You're so welcome, Neil. Enjoy your cooked water. Hope you're hanging in there. Thank you, Samson, for moderating. Thank you all for joining. I hope you have a hydrated weekend. You're so welcome, Ash. And I hope you also feel restored and get some rest, and take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and that you're getting benefit from these Ayurveda sessions. Please join us back tomorrow at 3 Mountain Standard Time for Heather's energy class, energy technique classes. She'll be teaching energy release techniques to help support energetically during these times. And then we have classes Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I'm in California, so that's 2 p.m. for us. I think you all can do the math. But Mondays is pranayama with Samson. Tuesdays is emotional release techniques with Anthony. Then we have Ayurveda lifestyle practices with me on Wednesday, and cooking on Thursday with me, and then the energy techniques with Heather on Friday. So we wanted to gift these to you during this time to help support you and create some sustainable routines as we navigate this wild ride together. Have a beautiful rest of your week, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday.